Hello one and all! So longtime fans of my channel might remember a few years ago I made a series of videos asking could Deku, Ida, and Uraka become villains? And I did this because, honestly, I love villain Deku storylines, the fan art, the fan fiction. It is always so amazing. But I do these videos not trying to say what is the coolest villain Deku storyline I can think of. I want to know, is there a world where Deku, Ida, and Uraka could have actually become villains? Is it reasonable? Is it feasible? And the solution I came up with was pretty impressive. At least I found it impressive. Basically, going back to the very first chapter of the series, there's a very clear order of events. All Might tells Deku he can't become a hero. Deku ends up stumbling across the sludge villain a second time. Deku runs in to save Bakugo. All Might is so impressed that he makes him the new successor of One for All. Huzzah! What if things didn't go quite that way? What if after All Might completely and utterly crushed all of Deku's dreams, he didn't go see the sludge villain a second time? What if he just went home? What if his mother texted him and said, hey, I need to pick up milk? What if he had homework to focus on or something else that kept him from going after the sludge villain? Well, then we have a situation where not only does Deku not go to save Bakugo, but All Might doesn't go to save Bakugo. And I'm not going to say Bakugo dies, because, quite frankly, one of the best parts of any villain Deku fanfic, fanart, whatever, is the moment where Bakugo comes face to face with the villain he helped create. Oh, I always love that. I love that so freaking much. So let's just say Bakugo was very seriously wounded, and as a result, Deku blames himself. He wallows in despair for days and days and days, until he realizes, hey, there were a whole lot of pro-heroes on the scene, and they did nothing. And wait a minute, what's in the background? All Might? All Might was on the freaking scene, and he did nothing. And in his anger and his despair, he ends up writing a blog, just basically going over all the things the heroes did wrong, all the things they could have done better, all the things they could have done to keep Bakugo from getting seriously injured. He goes to bed the night, wakes up the next day, and finds the blog has fully and completely blown up. With a lot of people just, yelling at him, saying he's some stupid kid who shouldn't badmouth heroes who are out there risking their lives. But there are others who agree with him. Others who say, hey, you're right, the heroes could have done better. And they share their own stories of times where a hero failed to save the day, and as a result, somebody got injured, or even worse, stories of corruption. Oh, this hero's taking bribes. Oh, this hero is going after, what's the term? Heteromorphs. He's only targeting heteromorphs, or this or that. And from there, Deku ends up reporting on the woes of hero society, on the failures of heroes, in his own way trying to be a hero, trying to hold heroes to a higher standard, and to make sure they are better, to make sure they are heroes worthy of the praise they earn. And this eventually gets in the attention of heroes like Endeavor, who very much want him to stop, which results in him joining up with Stain, eventually the League of Villains, and becoming a full-blown villain. Huzzah! But always with the intention of trying to fix hero society by changing things, making sure that heroes are different from what they are today. And then for the villain Ida story, that was in fact way, way simpler. I mean, seriously, I'm about 90% convinced that Horikoshi intended for Ida to become a villain, but just changed his mind when he saw how popular Ida had become. There are so many examples. Like the very first battle, the UA training arc, Ida ran away. He left Deku behind to die, saying, oh, this wasn't a test. I would have done the heroic thing. Yeah, that's not how it works, Ida. And then we have the big moment, the true moment of Ida going after Stain, going after him to get vengeance, in a move that is fully and completely opposite of what a hero should be doing. And if Deku didn't go to UA, if Deku didn't show up to save Ida, then he would be in a much, much worse situation. Not necessarily dying, but being badly wounded and being found next to the body of Native, with people realizing that he tried to act as a vigilante, at which point he'd be fully expelled from UA and might even be arrested, which would allow Deku to come in, recruit him, and convince him to join his side for the sake of getting vengeance. Huzzah! And then we have Uraka, and she was, not gonna lie, a much tougher nut to crack because she is just so overwhelmingly selfless. I mean, seriously, how could one convince her to go to the side of evil? And then I remembered her parents. everything she does is for her parents. So, I mean, without Deku, there's a fairly good chance Uraraka wouldn't get into UA because Deku wouldn't save her from the giant robot, and she wouldn't get the rescue points for saving Deku. So she doesn't get into UA, and let's say her father gets sick or something, and then Uraraka tries to help out, tries to move stuff around the construction site using her quirk, but somebody sees her, and her parents' company gets heavily fined, might even get shut down, and that's when Deku shows up, offering to provide for her parents for the rest of their lives if she joins his side, and helping him try to make Hero Society into a better place. Huzzah! And yeah, so I'm stretching about with Uraraka, but Deku and Ida could certainly have become villains if the situation was just a little bit different. But all of this relied on Deku becoming a famous blogger exposing the ills of Hero Society. There's just one problem with this. Lady freaking Nagant. Yeah, a while after I made the videos, Lady Nagant was introduced, and she explained the reason why we don't see more corruption in Hero Society is because it is her job to kill those corruptors before they can come to light. Meaning that if Deku actually did make essentially a living out of exposing hero corruption, she probably would have killed him. Or maybe not her, I'm not really sure exactly when she went to jail, but either her or Hawks or somebody from the Safety Commission. So yeah, that was a bit of an issue, and it actually really annoyed me, because as much as I love Horikoshi actually addressing like corrupt heroes, it just fully destroyed my entire fan fiction. Oh boy. But now, looking back, it actually could still work fairly well. Let's say Lady Nagant, it is Lady Nagant, I don't know when she went to jail exactly, but let's say she did try to kill Deku. And you know what, just because I like drama, let's say she failed and accidentally ended up killing Deku's mother instead. That leads to Deku being on the run and being forced to join the League of Villains, at which point, he'll realize, oh, okay, so Hero Society, it is just broken. It is just so overwhelmingly broken, and I am way more motivated in joining you guys, and joining League of Villains, and joining All For One, in destroying the current Hero Society and rebuilding it from the ground up. Though there's also another possibility that I had, which, it's the entire reason why I made this video. What if, when the Safety Commission found out who Deku was, they decided to recruit him, just like they recruited Lady Nagant, just like they recruited Hawks? They see Deku is incredibly brilliant, amazing at analyzing battle scenarios and finding these stories about corrupt heroes, and they decide to make him an agent. I mean, seriously, who would suspect a quirkless kid of actually being a deep cover spy working for the Safety Commission? Oh, that's cool. I'm just imagining Deku in like a full suit and tie, sunglasses, very James Bond. That'd be so amazing. Now, obviously, working for the Safety Commission wouldn't necessarily make Deku a villain, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of people argue that Hawks was a villain for stabbing twice in the back of the head. But, regardless, even if Deku wouldn't necessarily be a villain, he'd be somebody who's operating on entirely different principles than the current Deku of the series. He wouldn't be a hero, he'd be something else entirely. A government killing machine, essentially. Very cool. And that all leads to what I said was the best moment in any villain Deku fanfic, storyline, whatever, the reunion with Bakugo. And this is how I all see it happening. A picture in your head, if you will. All Might and Bakugo are on the scene. A villain has holed up in some building, like, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get him out? And they hear, bang, 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 3 gunshots. They run to the building, and they see, standing over the body, Deku, a gun in his hand, a fancy black suit, tie, sunglasses. He looks at them and says, oh, about time you got here. They are enraged. Well, Bakugo is enraged. He's like, what are you doing, Deku? He even tries to take a swing at him, but Deku is one step ahead of him because he's gone through some insane training through the Safety Commission. I mean, All Might's training was pretty rough, but this is entirely next level, and he's able to outmaneuver Bakugo, even swing him to the ground before taking out his license and showing that he is a Safety Commission officer, that he is one of the people who actually keep society going, rather than just a colorful mascot, with that line being directed at All Might. Oh, that'd be amazing. So, yeah, this is my idea for the new sorta villain Deku storyline. Could Deku have actually joined the Safety Commission? Would they have put in work in the field? Would Deku be willing to kill people for the betterment of society once he realized that he couldn't be a hero through normal means? I certainly like this storyline. Please let me think down below. What is your own villain Deku fanfic? How do you think it'd work? And what is the most realistic way it would be possible? I mean, though, like I said before, I'm a big fan of just, villain Deku storylines where Deku goes absolutely and completely insane, fully sadistic, either because All For One gives him a quirk that breaks him, or just all the bullying he suffered day in and day out just finally makes him snap, and he decides, alright, you broke me, now I'm gonna break all of you. But let me think down below, and until next time, peace!